What's up YouTube? Today we'll take a look at the best Captain Marvel decks that you can build as you progress throughout Marvel Snap. So first of all, let's say Captain Marvel is the very first Series 3 card that you unlocked and you want to squeeze her into a Series 2 deck. This is the best idea that I could come up with. To be honest, Captain Marvel is just a solid standalone card. You can pretty much fit her into anything, but if you want to make full use of her ability, I would definitely go for some type of location control deck, and the main synergy here is Storm. You're going to flood a location early on and you want to place some high power units behind it, something like Lizard, Sunspot can grow pretty large, or you want to Storm on turn 3 into Jessica Jones on turn 4 will very often secure your location. But just in case your opponent has some high power cards there, you didn't really find yours, Captain Marvel can still secure that flooded location later on. Just realized I made a little misclick here. You want Angela and not Carnage in that 2-drop slot. The rest of the deck is a mixture of control cards and power cards. For control cards we have Killmonger to remove our opponent's 1-drops. If you're just starting to get into Series 3, then KAZAR Zoo will probably still be a very popular deck, and Killmonger is just one of the best counters in that meta. Shang-Chi against their opponent's big stuff, and after a location is flooded, Spider-Woman is great because your opponent has to play into one of the other 2 locations, making it more likely that Spider-Woman will hit a lot of cards. Just be wary here of the anti-synergy between Killmonger and Sunspot. Now, if you like this deck and the archetype's playstyle and you want this to improve a bit as you progress throughout Series 3, this is one of the best decks that you can transition to. Very similar idea as the previous one, but it plays some higher power cards. The early game is a bit more well-rounded. This time we want Carnage in the deck because we have a bit more Destroy synergy. We can gobble up the Hood, we can gobble up Mysterio's illusions. And these illusions are also great targets for the Nova buff after we destroy him with Killmonger. Rescue is a great high power card for 4 mana, and usually her effect can be a drawback because your opponent will know where you play your next card, but if it's Captain Marvel, she can just move around freely later on anyway, basically negating the drawback of Rescue. And Doctor Doom is a similar idea as Captain Marvel, allows us to access the locations that we cannot play anymore later on. If you want to try some different non-control playstyles with Captain Marvel though, I've got you covered as well. This Hela discard deck made a couple of tier lists. I also already featured it in a full-length guide and video. Feel free to check that out right here. I'll just explain the core idea of this deck very quickly. We want to discard a lot of big cards and we want Hela to revive them on turn 6, basically cheating them out and allowing us to revive them at no mana cost. Which means all of the other cards are kind of flexible. We just want the deck to be a good ratio of discard enablers like Blade, Lady Sif, Swordmaster and so on. Jubilee for the mid game, and a bunch of expensive cards that we want to pull out of our deck. So all of these could also be replaced with cards like Hulk, Giganto, maybe Arrow, Vision, and so on. The nice effect of Captain Marvel here is that it negates a bit of the RNG of Hela, and she can move to locations that got a bit too little appreciation from the Hela respawns. And the last really fun deck that I want to show you is a Lockjaw deck. I also made a full in-depth guide and gameplay video on this deck not too long ago. I link it up right here as well. Except that I wasn't playing Captain Marvel back then, but I do think it's a pretty neat addition. The core idea here is to also play a bunch of big cards like in the previous deck and to cheat them out with cards like Jubilee, but the other one is Lockjaw, so we don't use the discard effect as an enabler for all of our big cards, but rather we use Lockjaw to pull everything from our deck. For that reason we play almost no cheap cards, just a little bit to be able to activate Lockjaw cheaply, playing something like Wasp next to Lockjaw right on turn 3 to get the first pull right away, and just a bit of early game to use our mana. These are not musts though, we could also go greedier and play cards like Dracula instead. Again, the only must have here is Lockjaw. A card like Wasp or Yellowjacket would be nice to have, but you can already start playing the deck without those, and the rest is basically just a mixture of Jubilee and a little bit of early game, but mostly a bunch of expensive cards. So these were my best ideas of strong Captain Marvel decks. Let me know in the comments if you think I forgot anything. Also, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll have more guides and more deck ideas and more gameplay coming up, and it would also help me out a lot. I'd really appreciate it. And see you around next time.